So hello and welcome everyone to our second community meeting for Fidelis Way Park. My name is Max Sell. I'm a project manager with Boston Parks and Recreation, overseeing the Fidelis Way Park Improvements Project we'll be discussing tonight. On behalf of the department and the design team, I can say we're so happy to have you join us. We're really excited to get started with our presentation, but I do have a few housekeeping items to cover first. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the meeting will be recorded. We do that in order to post it later to the project website. So folks who couldn't make it tonight can have access to the same presentation and discussion we'll be having. Please remember to keep your cameras and microphones off during the presentation. If you don't want to be recorded tonight at all, please keep them off during the discussion section as well. Next slide, please. To those that do want to contribute to our discussion, I ask that you do so in a respectful way. We do want to hear from everyone that wants to share tonight, so everyone here has an equal chance to speak, as well as an equal expectation that they will be heard. Please keep your questions or comments brief so we can get as many possible in our limited time. If you've already been called on, please give others a chance to speak before taking another turn. And do remember that this meeting is just one part of a larger discussion we'll be having around this park. If you do want to talk about anything in more detail with me, you can email me at max.sell@boston.gov. That will be put in the chat here in just a minute. Next slide, please. So during tonight's discussion, please use the raise hand option in order to be given speaking permissions when we're calling on people. If you have thoughts during the meeting, do feel free to add them to the chat, but don't raise your hand during the presentation. Thank you. Next slide, please. A quick look here at what to expect tonight. I'll be introducing the project design team and giving a brief overview of the project before handing it over to them for their presentation. Afterward, we'll hold our discussion section. You'll have a chance to share your thoughts or ask questions about the project. And we'll finish the evening with info on our survey and next meeting. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm Max Sell, the project manager at Boston Parks and Rec, overseeing the improvement project at Fidelis Way. With me from the city tonight is Michael McMillan, our community outreach coordinator, Jennifer Roberts, our neighborhood liaison from Alston Brighton, and I'm not sure if he's on the call, but Frank Mendoza McCarthy, the deputy director of the Office of Neighborhood Services. Our presentation tonight from Brown Richardson Rowe will be from Samantha Morrow, and completing the design team, we have Adrian Emmerich. Next slide, please. We also would like to give a special thanks to Boston Children's Hospital for their part in their contribution to parts of the construction of this project. Next slide, please. And here would be a good place if we could pause if there are any elected officials on the call. Feel free to speak or raise your hand, and you have the floor. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand, so I'm going to just move on to our next slide, please. So as you may know, we held our first meeting for this project at the end of July, followed by our survey to get a better sense of kind of what the neighborhood wants to see in this park. We've also had a chance to meet some of you at BHA Unity Day in August. Tonight, the design team will present 3 separate concept ideas for the park, and we'll ask you for your thoughts on each. After this presentation, we'll post a survey asking you which concept you prefer, either in whole or in part. And from there, the team will refine the concept into a final design. Next slide, please. So as a reminder, something about the city that I really love is our kind of priority of accessibility and healthy living. I see the city prioritizing kind of a future for its residents and visitors of this being a city of being livability that people can and want to be in. So I see it as kind of planning for the future, and this is one part of it. Next slide, please. So Parks' role in kind of helping realize that vision is by applying those principles of equal access and availability to guide our work. We had utility by valuing inclusivity not only in the park, but not the park that's just built, but in the process of creating those improvements as well. We want to promote physical and emotional connections between neighbors and their parks. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, in addition to those two factors, there are a few others. Community input is one piece that helps us guide the design project, and that's why we're happy to have you joining us tonight. This meeting, again, is just one part of the community input we're asking you for, and the conversation is ongoing and bigger than just the one we're having tonight. Next slide, please. So I'm going to hand things over here to Samantha to review what we heard from our previous survey. Samantha, please take it away.
All right, so hi everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your nights to join. My name is Samantha Morrow. I'm a landscape architect with Brown, Richardson and Rowe, and as Max mentioned, I am joined tonight with my colleague, Adrian Emmerich. So starting off with our presentation, we wanted to go through the survey results from the last community survey. There is a lot of information on these slides, so as Max mentioned, they'll be uploading this survey so you can sort of, this presentation, so you can sort of digest everything in your own time, but I will go through them quickly now. So one of the first questions we asked in the survey was, how often do you visit Fidelis Way Park? The main response on this was daily, and weekly came in after that. So it's obviously a heavily used park with residents coming in every day. We next asked, how do you typically get to Fidelis Way Park? So the majority of responses on this was by foot. And then we had 2 responses saying by car, but I will note both the people who said it was by car, they also answered by foot. So a lot of people accessing by foot. The next slide is, when do you visit Fidelis Way Park was one of the questions. So breaking that into 2 parts, we had what time of day, with the majority of people visiting in the morning, but still a lot of people also coming in the evening and afternoon. So sort of evenly spaced, people coming at all times of the day, really. And then we also broke it down by season, with the majority of people responding fall, but then close up to that, we had spring and summer, and then we still had a significant amount coming in the winter. So again, pretty evenly spaced. It tells us that, people are coming at all times of the day and throughout the year, no matter the season. The next question we asked was, what activities do you usually do here? So the number 1 response for that was sit on a bench. Tied for second after that was play at the playground, and exercise, including running, walking, yoga, etc. After that, a lot of people said they passed through to do their daily commute and errands. The next response for that was playing with your dog. And then we had people who come to the park to read, play basketball, people watch. And then some people also said they come to the park to meditate, picnic, and then sunbathe or attend special events. So the next question we had a lot of subcategories that you could check off in terms of amenities, new or existing, that mattered most to you. So because there were so many different boxes, we sort of grouped those various categories into these major categories of plazas and walkways, site amenities and active recreation, vegetation and open space, site furnishings and signage, and then site safety and lighting as this main slide. And then we break this slide down into the subcategories, into like what categories were included with that. So for amenities existing or new that matter most to you, 46% of people said site furnishings and signage. After that, we had site amenities and active recreation coming in at 20%. We then had vegetation and open space at 14%, site safety and lighting at 13%, and then plaza and walkways at 7%. So breaking that down further, we're first going to go into that 46% category of site furnishings and signage. And this is where we break it down into those subcategories. So the number 1 response in this category was trash receptacles at 25 responses. And then we had a lot of people say that, you know, they care about picnic tables, benches, tables and chairs and seating areas. We also had some responses for drinking fountains, as well as a shade pavilion, and then some responses for signage, wayfinding, bulletin board, and barbecue grills. So the next subcategory as part of the amenities existing or new was the site amenities and active recreation. So the number one response was basketball courts, which was followed closely by tennis and pickleball courts, children's play equipment, children's water spray features, and then we did have some people respond about a dog park and outdoor exercise equipment. The next subcategory of vegetation and open space, a lot of people responded that the trees and shade mattered most to them, followed by open lawn areas, and then rain gardens. And then for the site safety and lighting subcategory, a lot of people talked about the security cameras, and then they also talked about night lighting. We do have a question on the survey about lighting, and we'll be visiting the site with our engineers at night to sort of see what the issues are. But if you could take the time to fill out the next questionnaire and sort of explain, you know, what the concerns are with lighting, that would be very helpful for the design team. The next subcategory is the plazas and walkways, with 13 people responding that they care about accessible pathways, and then 9 people responding that they care about community gathering and plaza areas. So the last question we had was, what would you most like to see improved with the park design? This question was pretty open-ended, so we again sort of grouped the responses into categories to sort of synthesize the data. And so the number 1 and 2 things that people responded with 21% was safety and security, and then at 18% maintenance. After that, we had playgrounds at 15%, where people wanted to add a splash pad, see playground improvements, have a separate toddler area. After that, we had improvements to the sport courts, with 12% of people looking to see updates and improved basketball court. There was an idea of adding pickleball or adding tennis or adding soccer nets. After that, we had just general design and aesthetics. So 10% of the people saying they'd like to see general beautification and updating of the park with more green and shade, level lawn, and addressing drainage issues, and a more effective use of space. After that, we then had 8% of people expressing interest in a dog park, and then we had 4% with accessibility, and then 2% with wayfinding. And we also had the site furnishing, sorry, at 10%. So people wanting to see more seating, tables, trash receptacles, and drinking fountains. Then we just wanted to include a couple survey responses that people included that we thought were nice in the last round of surveys. So Fidelis Way Park is a beautiful hidden gem that is underutilized. Someone commented that the large grassy area on the playground side would be used more if it were flat. Some people wanted a safe, fun playground that toddlers can have fun in. And then sprinklers or something you can get wet in. So sort of to summarize those findings, we wanted to include the slide since, like I said, it's a lot of information at once. So what we sort of found was that Fidelis Way Park seems to be a part of people's routines. People are visiting daily throughout the day. They use it to move through the neighborhood. They use it to play at the playground and exercise or just sit on a bench. There was a lot of interest, and people tend to see people value the playground and sport courts and recognize room for improvement in both. As you could see from those surveys, people are strongly prioritizing improvements to site furnishings and safety. And then there was a lot of interest in adding a cooling feature like a splash pad or even a shade structure. So taking that information as well as aligning with, Boston Parks and the City of Boston goals. We sort of developed these three concepts. Before I jump into the concepts, I just wanted to orient everyone again into plan view. So this was our existing conditions map that we showed at the community one meeting. The concept plans you'll see after this are in the same orientation. So to just get everyone oriented, page north, we'll have Warren Street and the Brighton Marine Center. To the right of the page, we have the Nova Brighton Apartments and Com Ave, as well as the existing parking lot. Page south would be Washington Street, along with the BHA Commonwealth Development, the Nevins Hill condos, and then Monastery Path on the left side of the page, coming from Pamela Donovan Road, extending all the way to Warren Street. And then within the park itself, as the existing features, we have the large lawn area adjacent to the existing basketball courts outlined here in blue. We have the pathway between the playground and the sport courts, plaza area, and then the existing playground in purple, shown with the large existing trees adjacent to it. And then we have another large lawn area next to the playground. And all this is in between sort of walking pathways with varying degrees of slope and wooded areas. So going into concept one, and I guess before we get into those concepts, like I said, we tried to balance both the community feedback, and then we're obviously working within different constraints for, the project budget. So while we'd like to afford everything, we tried to balance the different responses within each concept to sort of address the various feedbacks we heard, but then still staying within that budget. So concept one, the main things that we are looking at and improving are the playground, including a dog amenity area, and then new plaza areas with some shade structures. So I'll start page south. We have this new accessible ramp coming from Pamela Donovan Road. The ramp would switch back, as my cursor is showing, along the slope here and then lead into the park. And then adjacent to that would be just a new set of stairs leading to Monastery Path. So that would be a new accessible connection into the park here. We would tie into existing pathways and then are proposing in this light green area a dog amenity space. The existing basketball courts would remain with minor improvements as needed to say like some of the chain link fencing around there and then the hoops and nets. Moving along the page, in this concept, we removed that central pathway that was previously between the playground and the basketball court, mostly in this concept because it wasn't accessible, but it also allows for us to expand these two plaza areas and sort of recoup some of the grade that happens there. So in this lower plaza area, this would be flush with the existing basketball court, and we're proposing a new shade structure with some seating. At the upper plaza area, we're preserving those existing trees and pathway connections from Jet Court, and then just showing some more table seating, some bench seating. And then adjacent to that, we have a new playground area, which would have poured in place rubberized surfacing, so be completely accessible, and then also be separated using the existing trees for a smaller toddler area and then a larger 5 to 12 area. All of these concepts that you'll see, we're maintaining this existing tree canopy, and we'll be showing sort of improvements to address any of the drainage problems existing within the path. We also have some precedent imagery for concept one, so just showing some ideas for what that shade structure can look like. Obviously, from being on site, you can see there's a lot of grade we're working with, so we're hoping within the play area to use some of those mounds and grading to our advantage, and perhaps we can have some sort of embankment play with a slide or climbers. This is just an image showing like if you wanted to lean into the existing tree canopy, there's play equipment that's tree themed. And then just an image down here showing a potential dog amenity with, accessible path and fencing. So that's the main takeaways for concept one. So it's a dog amenity, playground, and then those plaza gathering areas with shade structures. The next concept, the main amenities that we were addressing in this one based on feedback, were updates to the playground, updates to the sport court area and then including some terrace seating at the basketball court area. So again, page south, we have that accessible ramping connection from Pamela Donovan Road tying into the existing pathway, which we will be realigning starting from the basketball court to allow for that embankment seating. So not only will the embankment seating sort of improve what's there, which are those very steep granite cobbles, which kind of present a fall hazard, it would provide more seating for the court. We would then propose in this one, keeping one of the basketball courts, but then improving one of the basketball courts to be a multi-purpose sport court. So it could have lines that are tennis and pickleball, or it could have soccer lines. And then around all that, since a lot of people talked about how they come to the park to exercise, we would just be striping on the painting a little walking track. The other item that this concept includes is a new accessible ramp between the playground and the basketball court. So using that terrace sort of embankment seating, we're able to create a ramp here so that it will be accessible, this connection between the top plaza area and then getting down to the court, which as it currently is not accessible. And then again, we have improvements to the playground, including new seating, preserving the existing trees, and then this little red line around here, we're showing a little bike loop. Again, sort of playing into the grading here, maintaining some of those mounds that are within the grass. And then the plaza area here just has, new seating, new tables, and just improved pavement. So going into some of the precedent imagery for concept two, we just wanted to show some images of like what the brightly painted court area can look like, including, if you wanted to do those track lines, or if you wanted to do a more interpretive version of that, where this one's showing large dots and circles for people to walk around, and then some images of what that terraced sort of embankment seating at the court can look like in these two photos. For the playground precedent imagery in concept two, just showing an idea for 5 to 12 tower. This is showing an image of sort of 2 to 5 toddler imaginative play. Again, leaning into the existing grades we have to work with here and showing some embankment slides. And then this two images on the right here are just of what that bike loop could look like. So concept three, the main components we're including in this one would be that spray pad area and then improvements to the playground. So again, starting page south, we have the ADA accessible ramp tying into existing walkways. We wouldn't be touching the basketball courts again in this one, and instead the focus would be on updating the plaza area with some new paving, new seating, maintaining existing trees. In blue here, we have the little spray pad area, which we're showing in-ground features for, which would be surrounded by, the no spray zone, as well as some seating for parents. To where my cursor is here, having a little toddler area and embankment slide. Again, maintaining existing trees around the playground, and then having a larger kid area, which would have more embankment play here. An accessible connection to the top of that embankment from the path up here, and then another little seating plaza area at the base of the slide for people to either overlook the lawn or watch their kids while they're playing at the embankment area. And like the other concepts, this also is addressing any sort of drainage issues with some new paving where it's needed. The precedent imagery for the slide, this large image here, we're just showing some play equipment and then a small splash pad adjacent to the play area with some in-ground features. This is showing, a large play equipment tower and slide that would be the 5 to 12. There's an idea of, since we're maintaining existing trees around the playground and trying to keep those areas green, if there's some, ability to do some natural play within the planting there. This is just an image of sort of robinia or wood play equipment, so just another way to do a tower. And then again, some embankment play. So going through all that, we just want to reiterate, so all of those concepts are going to include that ADA access ramp from Pamela Donovan Road. We will address lighting improvements as needed, so making sure the park is well lit. We're going to try to do as much as possible preservation of existing trees and then planting and seeding as needed within the park. All of them include furnishing updates, since that was a large survey response, play equipment updates, and then, like I said, any pavement improvements that are needed to address sort of drainage pattern and any sort of regrading that needs to happen here to capture stormwater, to address any of those drainage concerns. So that's these are included within every single concept. And then we have this slide, since again, it was a lot of information to digest, sort of comparing those three concepts. So that concept one, showing that dog amenity area, we have the shade structures and larger plaza spaces, and then a new large playground for ages 2 to 5 and 5 to 12. And then in concept two, we have the sport court improvements, including a multi-purpose sport court, walking track, embankment seating. We're showing a new accessible path here. And I forgot to mention in this one, we're removing that path since it's currently not accessible. Again, some plaza updates, but a little smaller than the plaza updates we're showing in concept one. And then we're having that new playground with bike loop for both ages. And then the third concept is including that splash pad and then a new 2 to 5, 5 to 12 playground with plaza updates and any updates to drainage in all three as needed. So that sort of goes through all three of our concepts and brings us to the listening and discussion section, which I'll hand over to Max.
Great. Thank you so much, Sam. That was a really great presentation, and I'm really excited to see all these concepts together. I did want to reiterate, as Sam pointed out, these are some big moves, and all of them have kind of similar cost estimates. The final design is likely to incorporate some elements of each, but we're hoping that these ideas can kind of help you realize what you may or may not want in the park and help us further our discussion. So we really want to hear from you, whether that's, I think it might be best to maybe move concept by concept or just open the floor and kind of see how people are feeling. Okay, I see Jack has a hand raised.
Hi, I use the park every morning from like 4 to 6 a.m. and I love the place for walking. But like in the winter, it, gets covered with snow and ice, and then you can't really go in there. So you probably don't have the budget to do anything about that, but that's just one of my concerns. So,
Thank you, Jack. Yes, I do know maintenance is a continued issue. Typically, we do not, as far as I'm aware, do not plow most interior paths inside parks. Let's see, Filippo, you have your hand up. Let's see if I can call on you. see.
Muted. Sorry. Can I hear?
Oh.
Am I hearable now? Okay. Sorry,
Okay.
guys. I was talking by myself, I guess. So I'm one of the residents. Hi, everyone. I'm one of the residents of 1 Evans Hill. And so I see that like there is pretty like substantial transformation of the path that like is on the left of the building. And I was wondering if there is going to be like a lot of movement of ground around the area and a lot of like heavy equipment, and how the city is planning to make sure that there is not going to be any damage or any issue to surrounding structures, in particular our building.
Thank you, Filippo. My understanding is that yes, this will require a significant amount of earthwork. The idea is to create an accessible path from the top of the road there down into the park to make access, make an accessible loop that connects from that side over to the parking lot on the east. That, as someone pointed out, that is a significant amount of grade change, and we do have existing MOUs with both the buildings on either side and the Public Works Department. So that is something we'll be coordinating with a few different agencies come construction time. But this is something that has been in part of the plan from the onset. So. Dan, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Dan Cuddy. I work at Brighton Marine, Director of Community Government Relations, and really excited about the renovation. And thanks for all the hard work everyone's putting into and the community meetings. So I applaud everyone. I like, just off the top of my head, concept two the best. I like the walkway accessibility improvements, and it just looks like to me a little bit of what might make most sense to me. But I also did want to comment on what I didn't hear, and that was are you going to be pruning and the trees that abut the Brighton Marine property line and Outlook Park, because that needs some grooming, and then as well as I think the path, we used to call it St. Gabriel's Pathway. You mentioned it. It's now called a different street. I don't know, but the staircase that goes up from Brighton High School, I know that needs significant work there too. And I don't know if that's considered the park. I don't know how much you would go up the staircase with lighting and really cleaning that up. I know that's a lot of work as well. So I don't know. I didn't hear much on that. And then the last thing for me, sorry, was I didn't hear my comments that I had submitted in offering, one piece of the park, a dedication to our local Alston Brighton military and veterans. If there was an opportunity to put a dedication piece that Brighton Marine could perhaps be part of or support. I know Fidelis Way was originally, for Korean veterans and Korean War veterans, and Brighton High has a lot of military stuff. So just was trying to stay in that concept with Brighton Marine being obviously a veteran campus. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely, Dan. Try and get to all of those points. So you had mentioned the path that's coming up. As Sam had pointed out, Brighton Marine is page north here. That path coming up to the park, that very corner, is Public Works property and is beyond the scope of our jurisdiction. So we maintain the path between where Sam has her cursor there down to the other portion of the colored area. And outside of that, we have an agreement with Public Works that to work on that access point from the road down into the park. So that is the limit of our scope for this particular project. I am aware that there are overhanging trees as an issue onto the Brighton campus. That is certainly something that's a part of this budget. It's just not something we're really able to represent kind of at this level of graphics. We really wanted to kind of impress upon the audience sort of the bigger moves that would be happening within the park. And there is always room for those sort of, I don't want to call them smaller, but those sort of more specific integrations, such as art pieces or monuments that come a little bit later right now we're really just trying to kind of show you a series of big moves that might elicit some responses and just see which direction kind of starts to pull us the most strongly. So I hope that answered most of your
Yes, it
questions.
did. Thank you very
Great.
much. Appreciate the feedback.
Thank you. I see Barrett has their hand up.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for all of the work that went into this. Thanks for the clarification to Filippo's question as well about the grade work on that path. Messaging that to residents in the Overlook buildings and to, I'm in the One Nevins Way building as well, will be quite the project, I anticipate. So in the chat box, I put in a question about drainage and all three concepts for the path that leads between the BHA access point stairs on the left and the parking lot. In the winter, there is a significant water collection also on this path, and I don't know if you guys have evaluated drainage along there. Basically, the water flows down from the parking lot and collects like at low points along that path, on that kind of the bottom path. But I don't know if you have drainage remediation planned for that area of the park, but it's at least needed in the winter time of some sort.
I'm sorry, please, if you have more.
Yeah, well, and then just as the parent of hold on a second. Parent of a toddler, we're expecting our second. Big fan on new playgrounds, very exciting, very nice. Having 2 to 5 and 5 to 12 spaces would be great. I'm pro splash pad, but I also know that of the options between concept 2 and concept 3, I think are the best ones. I don't really think we need a structured dog amenity. There are a number of enclosed dog spaces close by on the Overlook property, that people already are using, and I don't necessarily know if I don't know, dog owners can vote here, but if that makes if that's a significant enough, if it needs to be enclosed for dogs. I don't know, we've always had good experiences with people taking care of their animals on at the park, or especially around kids. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I thought concept 2 and concept 3 are great, and splash pad would be awesome. And even if there's not a splash pad, it'd be preferable to keep water fountains. If some kind of access to water would be great for the summer months. Thanks.
Certainly. Thank you for those comments, Barrett. I'm not totally sure if it's coming through in these drawings, and I know it is a little confusing. The path shown at the top of the page is the lower path in real life, but that low point is kind of shown in gray there at the top. If I'm misunderstanding this,
Is that path the closest to Brighton Marine or closest to
that's the one
BHA?
closest to Brighton Marine.
Yeah, so the path closest to the BHA has huge ice, like sometimes up to 3 or 4 inches of ice, and then water puddles on it all winter long. And if we're looking at concept 1, the trees you've added in the diagram, the 3 new trees there, it's basically right where the middle of those 3 trees is, right there on the path. It danger zone. I've fallen, my mother's fallen, our toddler's fallen, because water just flows down straight from the parking lot. I don't know if that came up, but in terms of, I don't want anyone to be surprised as you're doing work, and realizing, oh, suddenly there's a lot of water there.
Right. Well, I know ADA access is like a prime, one of the prime motivations behind this project, and I do believe we'll be looking at regrading most of this path to kind of maintain access there. So,
Awesome.
especially for that kind of surface level drainage stuff, that should be something that's addressed here. Again, just maybe a little difficult to show in graphic form. Let's see. I see Craig has his hand up. Craig, would you like to share?
Yes, sure. Hi, thanks very much for calling on me. I'm a resident of One Nevins Hill, and I love the opportunity to weigh in on these ideas. I like concept 2, particularly the changes in the basketball court, adding tennis is terrific, and pickleball. And I love the larger playground on Concept 3 and water park and whatnot, and available for parents of all ages is terrific. I'd like to know what your plans are for the field to the right. I didn't hear any mention. Is there new grading or any use of that you have in mind that would be for us to think about? That's my
As
question.
far as this project scope has gone, kind of what the budget we've been working with has sort of panned out to be these sort of larger moves are what we'd be more focused on. I am aware that we've received a number of comments about kind of maintenance of that area and do believe kind of reseeding and some grading work would be done over there. But I don't think you'd be seeing these kind of programmatic changes. I believe that
It'll
area
remain a
will
field.
actually remain kind of open on program space.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
I have to pull my chat log back up here. Let's see. I'm not sure if I see anyone else with their hand up right now. I did see during the call that Moira, you had identified yourself here. I'm sorry we missed you at the beginning, but if you're still in the call, would you like to share a few words?
Hi, everyone, this is Maura McRae from Allspartan City Council, Liz Braden's office. Just thank you for the presentation. Super excited to see this move forward. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Moira. I did want to just get back quickly to something that Barrett said that I didn't answer at the time. We're kind of exploring this idea as a dog amenity or sort of not strictly a dog park. We can kind of see this being a flexible space and sort of dependent on what we hear from the neighbors. So this could be anything as small as kind of like a way station and watering fountain. It really depends on kind of which way you all see taking it. I am seeing something in the chat right now about bathrooms. There isn't a structure involved as part of this project, so I don't believe a bathroom would be coming. But I do believe there is a water hookup and that drinking fountain. You would all know better than me if it works in the summer, but I do.
It does. It does work in the summer.
Wonderful. I'm trying to flip back and forth and see if anyone has their hand raised. Filippo, I see you have your hand up again. Would you care to come up?
Hey, thank you, Max. Yes, no, I agree with Barrett and with Craig. I think concept 2, concept 3 look nice. Again, can we count on you to provide us more information on this, the transformation that will be required for the accessible path? Because just from the blueprint here, it looks like really, like, I don't know, a pretty intensive construction. And we want to understand what are the implications for our building.
Absolutely. The feasibility study that was conducted did involve the concept of a permanent easement. So that is something that we would need to discuss with the building owners. I don't think we have any photographs of this space, but you all are probably familiar. It's just, there's a lot of kind of debris, scrub brush that's kind of going on back there right now. So that's the area we kind of have in mind for this, that ramp would be taking place of.
I will just add to Max's answer on that. So we were provided with the feasibility study he had talked about that was performed back in 2020 for this ramp. And that did show sort of a permanent easement and the ramp occurring not on Parks property, but in this, in these concepts, as you see it, this is 100% the switchback ramp is on within Fidelis Way Park. So it would just be sort of temporary easements needed for construction access in order to, put in those footings for the retaining walls and stuff of the ramping structure where Monastery Path gets really narrow, but the switchback ramp itself would not be on Evans Way property.
Samantha, thank you so much for the explaining that. So I'll tell you what my biggest concern is. My biggest concern is like we are essentially built on a hill, right? And I don't know how good our foundations are. I hope they're very good, but you're gonna move a lot of like earth, right, and ground around us, and with pretty heavy machinery, right? And this can cause like substantial damage to the building.
Yeah.
And
So Oh, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Just, I mean, obviously I'm a landscape architect, but we will have, geotech, civil and structural engineers involved in this, so they wouldn't be proposing anything that would undermine any of an abutter's property. So we would be extremely mindful of that when
Yeah.
they're thinking about what those footings look like and to what depths and when they do those geotechnical explorations. But I appreciate you commenting it, and obviously it's something very,
No,
very
absolutely.
important that we
Yeah,
need to keep in mind.
we are counting on you to do this the right way, and I'm sure you guys have all the best intention. Just like just for like being part of the neighborhood, right? Just my goal is to like understand this transformation and the impact that will have on me and my neighbors and the people yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for those questions, Filippo, and Samantha, thank you for that clarification. I see SS has their hand up. Would you care to come off mute?
I just going through because I wrote a bunch of stuff in one little note on the side.
Yes.
Can you pick and choose from the concepts? Because basically, with the first one, I love like the shade structures in the large plaza. In that large plaza, is there any like grill station or just kind of seating area?
So we don't have anything kind of worked out to that level of detail at this stage. I would like to reiterate that yes, you can kind of pick and choose pieces if there are aspects of one concept that you really like and aspects of it that you don't. We'd love to hear about that. Just kind of think of this as like a broad, kind of pieces we can move around at this point.
Okay, yeah. So definitely love the shade structure in the large plaza. Adding to the large plaza, I wrote some sort of like sink with soap so you can wash your hands, especially if you do grills. I know you can't do like bathrooms, but something for helping with germs on the playground, things like that. The dog side, I think would be very disturbing to all the residents that are around there because of early morning dog barks. I hear them all the time. So putting them near the park, like the parking area, or over to the right side where the marina is, farther away from early morning sleepers, that might be a thought. And then the second concept, I love that bike trail around the park, like the playground area. And then obviously the request for the water park for the larger parking. So the splash pad is what it is, yeah. So picking and choosing would be not doing the dog park because like Barrett said, they are local in our area. We already have a caged in one. And then adding the bike from the second concept and then the splash pad from the third. That's just my input.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for sharing. Tori, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Tori Perishaku. I'm a youth program coordinator and community organizer with the Boston Housing Authority. I just wanted to let you guys know that we have a teen night every Wednesday night at 35 Fidelis Way. And I don't know if there's any way to come out and talk to the youth, or you want to strengthen the communication with the youth about these plans and designs. We welcome you to come out and to speak to the youth or survey them about their opinions. So just I can leave my email in the chat so we can talk. And I just had some questions about the different concepts. Is concept 2 the only concept that includes a tennis court or a pickleball court?
For this pass, yes, we just kind of looked at that concept is more focused on that court area, including kind of introducing the terrace seating around it, as well as converting one of those courts into a different multi-sport court.
Okay, does any concept include like volleyball or are any of the courts interchangeable into volleyball or other kind of sports?
I need to become more familiar with kind of the line painting that goes into that. I'm aware of, multi-sport courts existing, but we'd also want to get the feedback from community in terms of demand, because I know a lot of those times, if you get too many lines on a court, it can get really confusing, and it's not best for anyone. I do want to thank you for extending us an opportunity to come and speak with the youth there. If you don't feel comfortable leaving your email information, mine is in the chat. You're all welcome to reach out to me at any time.
I'll definitely put it in the chat, and thank you. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see, Dan, it looks like you have your hand up again.
Yeah, I just wanted to take into consideration the pickleball. You know, pickleball is so loud that, you know, it's so close to the housing. Could be an issue. Just throwing it out there. I know it's very popular, but that's the complaint you hear from pickleball. If it's super popular, it's pretty loud. Just a thought. Sorry to throw it out there.
Absolutely. No, thank you for sharing. Barrett, I see you have your hand up again.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for the additional tree cover in all of these options. I think that's something that's helpful. And if possible, preserving some of the old growth that's around the playgrounds right now. I'm not sure if that's just in concept 3 that's possible. The older tree plantings, I thought those were great. To Dan's point about pickleball, I also had that immediate thought. I will also say people play basketball quite late anyway in those courts, and like basketball's like not that quiet either. It's already like a relatively loud space, but I also wonder if also the age ranges of folks who are interested in playing pickleball might not be playing pickleball at 11 o'clock at night, but people might be shooting baskets at 11 o'clock at night. I don't know if
I
there's a
think what I
demographic.
hear you saying is there might be a narrow window in terms of quiet coming from the court area in
Yeah.
relation to both a basketball and pickleball court. That is
Yeah.
duly noted. Thank you. Let's see.
To answer that other question, we're preserving that large tree
Oh,
canopy and all of those concepts. So
Oh,
we do
great.
not plan on touching any of those big, beautiful trees
I'm
around
s-
the playground.
I'm so sorry. I completely spaced on that. Yes, this park has some of the most beautiful mature tulip trees in the entire city of Boston's inventory. So those are a massive feature of this park. And just, I love it when I hear community members recognize that, and it's not just landscape architects. So yes, we love the trees too. We'll leave the conversation open here for a bit longer. I did just want to add that we will be sharing a survey after this meeting, where you'll be able to kind of leave your input if you didn't feel like sharing anything this evening, or if something comes to mind later. We're also very happy for you to share this information with your neighbors. We'll be working to get this up online in the next few days, and we'll let you know when we have everything ready to share with you. I'm going to check the chat again. Okay, it looks like Tori has left their info for us. Thank you, Tori. If anyone has anything they'd like to share, this would be a great time. Otherwise, it looks like our survey link is in the chat now, so you'll be able to have access to that first, and we'll be getting that out to everyone on the list pretty soon, hopefully by the end of the week. We did have just some sort of like larger questions to leave on that might be helpful to think about kind of as you move throughout your day and move throughout the park. You saw we threw a lot of stuff at you today, and maybe some stuff sticks and some doesn't. And we want to hear about the stuff that sticks both for good reasons and bad reasons. I shouldn't say bad reasons, but maybe something you didn't like stuck with you, right? You know what I mean? We're really excited. We had a really great turnout for the first survey, and would just kind of love to keep this conversation going with you. I'm thrilled to have been offered a chance to come speak or join in any capacity with the youth coordination. So thank you once again, Tori. I did see Dan. Dan, I saw you had your hand up there. Would you like to share anything before we sign
Yeah,
off?
yeah, thank you so much. Just last thing is I just know that you mentioned it several times in your presentation that the maintenance has always been a challenge up there, which I think you're right. The access to the park, to do the landscape and to clean, to make sure it's, well groomed. So I just hope that's being addressed and doesn't continue. I know that's access points that are adjacent to other properties to get on the field, but just throwing out there, I didn't hear a comment about it. I just would love that to be part of the recording that we
Yeah.
really, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, there are some less kind of flashy elements included in the plan, such as maintenance for that swing gate that's not properly closing. That's something they'd love to hear. It's good to hear that you'd like to hear that as well. So thank you for, documenting that, and that will be included as part of this project. With that, I am going to finish recording this meeting, and we will have this up for you in the next few days, and I'll watch for an email from me. I'll be sharing further information as we go. For the time being, we are going to conclude our community meetings until after the holidays. Just kind of gets a little tricky to get people together. So I would expect our next meeting to be taking place sometime in either January or February. But please don't hesitate to reach out to me then, and I will be doing my best to communicate with you all. Thanks, everyone. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.